From the National Press Club in Washington, D.C., this is Rewind. This week, lobbyists for Israel reacted to President Barack Obama suggesting Israel use its 1967 borders as the starting point for peace talks. The emotionally charged news conference reflected their fears.
And I look at it as a land that is on the precipice of destruction if we agree to, or if Mr. Netanyahu agrees to, the 67 borders. We need to remember that today the technology is far more lethal than it was in 1967.
Muhammad Ali joined the families and supporters of the two American hikers calling for their release from Iran. The third hiker, freed last year, says 662 days is long enough.
Josh and Shane have now been in prison for 8 months, longer than I was. And their detention has everything to do with the animosity between the United States and Iran and nothing to do with two innocent men who have always stood on the side of what's right.
At a press club luncheon, the news analyst fired by NPR more than 6 months ago charged that his headline-making termination was a sign of the times, where expressing his personal feelings was not politically correct.
So in essence, I had been muzzled, not given the chance to come in to explain myself, not being told exactly what the understanding was of the entire context that was prompting management to make the decision they made. In that context, in that moment, I've got to tell you in all honesty, I feared that my career as a journalist was over. Since this controversy broke, as I've told you, people everywhere say to me, you know, I understand what it is to feel that you can't speak in this country today, and tell me that they feel that there's too much of coded speech, political correctness.
The advocacy group Oceana says 84% of U.S. seafood is imported and warns the consumer to be wary of seafood fraud.
Well over 1,000 samples from around the country, about 50 different cities, most of which actually came from plates that were being served right in the restaurant. And we found about 50% of the time you're not eating the fish that you think you're eating.
A CVS-sponsored research study with several university hospitals says not taking prescriptions increases overall medical expenses.
Other studies have shown that up to 50% of the people who are chronically ill and need medications stop taking their medications within a year. Since 75% of the nation's healthcare costs are spent on treatment of the chronically ill, it is an issue we should be very concerned about.
This has been Rewind.